Say hi.
Hello everybody and welcome today. It's a cloudy day here in Denver, but I'm sure sunny in most other places.
So welcome, we're the Private Label University, and we're just going to give everyone a few minutes to get on, log on, and I'm actually going to, I have my computer here, going to log on so I can catch any questions that come our way at the same time and make sure that everything is ready. So,
And in case you didn't mention, she's Karen, I'm Neil.
Okay.
A movie.
Now maybe you guys can see us. There you go. So, great. You gotta love video, right? Okay.
So now we're going to buy a new iPhone. That's where you go right after this.
Technology. I know you guys love our technology, the way we have been doing this. So this is all live. You gotta love this. I'm just behind the scenes here. Okay, so here you go. I'm gonna come back. If you can see Neil right now, give a thumbs up. And then I will leave from the back and we can get started without the rocky bumps that we just had, right?
The old hot potato phone.
Okay, guys, can you hear us? Can you see us?
Thumbs up.
Looks like we're live, but oh, there you are. I see you now. Okay, perfect. Little bit of a bumpy start, but no worries. I have our iPad here so I can monitor this at the same time. And we're just waiting for some more people to come on, which will be great because today we're really excited because today's call or today's Facebook Live is all about the 5 reasons why not going to China is preventing you from making a lot of money selling products on Amazon. So we're going to talk about that. And as I look at this, it looks like Neil is a little cut off. So I'm going to have Neil just tell you a little bit about who we are as the Private Label University. And then I will come right back and we'll get started.
So as Karen mentioned, we are the Private Label University. I'm Neil Gortzman, and that was the beautiful Karen Gortzman, my wife. And for over 35 years, we have been importing and sourcing and private labeling for big chain stores, independent stores, manufacturers, and other importers. And I've been doing that, again, for over 35 years. I spend most of my life traveling around the world. I've been going to China and all over Asia since the 80s. My father has been importing since the 60s, and we actually had a lot of relationships set up in Taiwan and Hong Kong back in the 70s. And so from that time on, I was traveling to mainland China and all over Europe, South America, and importing and private labeling for chain stores around the world, actually, and independent retailers and importers, basically and entrepreneurs, people who are in business and people who wanted to get into business.
Which is great. And my story's a little different. I was a stay-home mom looking after our kids, and we needed to make a little bit more money, and I wanted to start my own business. So Neil taught me that 60-year-old formula that his father had passed down to him that he's been using, taught me how to private label products, and I launched my own brand, actually, of bags. And I couldn't have done it without the guru in the industry who taught me everything, and trust me, if Neil can teach me, anyone can do this. Anyone can private label products. Trust me. Trust me. So this is great. So you're going to see me looking here, looking over on this direction as well. I have my computer and my iPad here with me, so I can just monitor. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask questions as we go through this. So here we're going to actually jump in right now. We're going to talk about today the 5 reasons why not going to China is preventing you from making a lot of money with your products on Amazon, okay? So we're going to talk about that today. And if something comes up, feel free to send us a little note and a comment, and we will get to that comment and answer it for you. So the number one thing that we hear from people that's stopping people from actually going directly to China, getting on an airplane and going directly to China, is
money.
Money. So let me write this down. I'm going to multitask here. Money. Money seems to be, the number one reason why people are not actually getting on an airplane and getting direct contact with suppliers face to face and building those relationships. And usually it's because of money. That's what we've been hearing. And we want to talk about that today, because actually that's actually not true. Money should not be stopping you. It's actually less expensive to not be going to China, right, than it is to stay home and be sourcing here. It's actually, you're leaving money on the table by sourcing and doing everything here online than going to China. And the one thing that we're going to talk about, I'm going to have Neil, you talk about, is Alibaba. Why people are losing money and spending too much more money, wasting money on Alibaba and not going direct to China.
So the most important thing people have to remember is Alibaba is just a giant catalog. It really is for all parts of Asia, and now around the world, Alibaba offers the opportunity for anyone to advertise on Alibaba to sell a product. So it could be a manufacturer, could be an agent, could be a trading company, could be a guy down the street, could be your brother-in-law, could be someone in a garage, could be anybody who can list products and try to sell them. And for that reason, why we say it's more expensive is because the people who sell there, you don't know who they are. Could be a retailer. It could be someone who bought a stock lot of something. It could be anyone who says, hey, I've got a bunch of these sitting in my garage, or I work for another company and I have 1,000 samples and I want to sell them. And so everyone's advertising on Alibaba, and you really don't know where you're buying from and if you're getting the best price. And so people spend hours and hours and days and weeks and months, and we've even seen years trolling on Alibaba, trying to find that perfect product, going back and forth, Skyping, emailing, trying to communicate, and still not coming up with a product. And when they do, what we see is they're paying too much. They're paying a higher price. And the reason being is a lot of people who advertise on Alibaba, and even manufacturers that we've been in contact with for years, they say, well, we just put our prices on Alibaba, we launch products, and we put a really high price because we know people around the world where either they can't get it or they're not coming to China and they just feel they want to buy some, we'll just raise the price.
And actually, you have a great story. We did a little test. And so why don't you share that story with everyone about those?
So we've been in the DIY arts and crafts stationery industry for over 25 years. And one of the products that I helped launch and develop for other companies, if anyone knows the Moleskine Journal. Now, Moleskine was a big brand developed originally in Italy, and then it was not manufactured in Italy, it was taken to China, and I actually worked with that factory for that brand for many years. And from that, I would help other chain stores private label a similar product. And so I knew what those cost, I knew what they cost to make, and I'd actually spend time at the factory developing variations of it. And with that product, we now see that same product. So that same manufacturer would advertise it on Alibaba for like $3 to $5. Now, I know, going to the factory and working with the manufacturer and other sub-manufacturers that were making similar products, that was a 68-cent book. So that same journal that you see in all the chain stores and at the big department stores that sell for $15 and $20, that was a book that cost less than $1. Now, the manufacturer would come up with variations of it, and he put it on Alibaba because he knew people would recognize it, and he'd say Moleskine type or Moleskine quality, and it would say $3 to $5. Well, your average person would see $3 to $5, see that it's selling in stores for $15 and go, wow, great buy. But if they took the time to go to China and be introduced to these manufacturers, they could buy it for under $1. So that's a 300% markup, if not more.
So let me ask you this question just because it's on the top of my head. So what percentage do you think that people are paying higher on Alibaba than live in person, building that relationship and meeting these manufacturers?
I would say anywhere minimum 50% more up to 1,000%. I've seen crazy amounts where, you know, we like to bring up the term the spatula. You know, you see spatulas advertised at 80 cents and they're really 10-cent items. So do the math. It's a huge difference in margins, especially when you're selling thousands. Now, if you're only selling 10 or 20 at a time and that's all you plan on developing, well, then I guess it's going to suit you. But if you're scaling your business, if you're building a business, if you plan on private labeling and you need to get the best price from the best source, Alibaba is not the answer.
Right. Now, it's a great place, and we do teach that if you can't go to China for whatever reason, I mean, that's a way to find products and you still make money. You're just leaving money on the table. You're not making the most that you can make. And we want to see that everyone can make the most that they can make because it's profit, right?
And retailers and manufacturers, they're not searching on Alibaba. They're not looking for those
top
products.
Amazon sellers are not looking on Alibaba.
Exactly. The big Amazon sellers, the power sellers, they're going to China.
Right. So again, money, when we talk about, what's preventing people from going to China, people say money. But if Alibaba is increasing their prices by 30%, 50%, 100% or more, then what's happening is you're actually losing money by not going to China, right? You're losing money by not going there and leaving money on the table and just working through sites like Alibaba. So that's one thing. The other thing is what we hear about with money is the cost to go to China. So we want to talk a little bit about what it actually costs to go to China, because a lot of people think it's like tens of thousands of dollars to go to China, and that's not the case. So why don't we talk a little bit about what are the actual costs that it costs to go to China?
So I'm always in China. I travel there all the time. So I'm always online looking at, of course, the best pricing to fly over there. And usually the average flight you can get, I've seen as low as $500, but really the average cost is about $600 to $800.
And this is from Denver. So depending on where you are, the cost will be different.
From Los Angeles, so anywhere in the West Coast, and north, so San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, any of the big cities, you can get really inexpensive flights. So it really is affordable. It's the same cost for someone, sometimes even to travel to Canada, to Toronto, or to Montreal. The same cost it would be to China. It's just a little bit longer flight.
And if you have points, then even better. Then it doesn't cost you anything, right?
Exactly.
We like to use our points.
So the cost of the flight is not that expensive. Let's work out approximately. We'll make it in between $700.
Well, I think he's
$600 is what. Yeah, I went online last night and found a flight.
So $600 now?
Yes.
So $600 for flight. And I'm very messy with my writing here. So $600 flight, okay. And now we have to, what about hotel? So let's talk about hotel.
Right. So in Guangzhou, there are thousands of hotels. And the city is made it where they know that, especially at fair time, when the Canton Fair is in Guangzhou, that they make it, of course, they raise their price. So during the year, if a hotel is $50, $75, $80, it may be 10, 20, 30% more. But on the average, we found hotels were about $75 to $80 a night. And that even includes breakfast and a shuttle bus to the fair. So we're going to go up higher.
And when we say the fair, we're talking about the Canton Fair in Guangzhou, China. And we like to focus around that because that's the place where you will get access to over 60,000 vendors at one time. In one place, in one complex. So we're talking about the Canton Fair, going to China, meeting suppliers, and what the cost would be if you were to do that. And we want to show you that it's really not expensive to do. So we talked about a flight, $600, hotel you said, about how much?
Yeah, let's base it on 5 days being at the show and $100 a day for the hotel. And that's on the mid-range to higher side. And that's 5-star hotels.
Okay, so sorry, how much was that?
So $500.
A night?
No, $100 a night, 5 days is $500.
Okay, so 500, and this is hotel. Okay. So what are we at?
We're at $1,100.
All right. That's what the cost would be. I'm going to get this Sharpie, I'm sure, all over me here. That's what the cost would be to actually invest in your business, to go to China, to find lower prices, to meet suppliers that you're going to build a relationship with and not waste a lot of time. And again, think about this number. Wow, it sounds like a big number, right? $1,100, $1,100. But think about what we just talked about when we were talking about Alibaba charging 30, 50, 100% higher price than you would normally get if you were to meet directly with the supplier. So that amount that you're paying extra because you're here and you're searching on Alibaba is actually going to cost you more in the end than actually going to China. So look at that number, right? That's just the start, right, of why, you know, people are saying, well, money is stopping me. But in fact, you're actually paying more by not going to China. So obviously then money really is not an issue because you're paying more.
And you may start digging down and saying, well, what about food? Well, food is very inexpensive in China. Well, what if I have to take an Uber ride from the airport? Well, so those are all, even if you added an extra few $100s, just a few $100s, you're still going to be under $1,500. And we really crunched the numbers to see how inexpensive it would be. So again, depending on where you're coming from, maybe you have a longer ride to the airport, it's a $75 cab ride or the parking. It's very inexpensive. And we looked at some of the, I'm going to say mid to higher range. We blasted out at $1,500 on everything. Because again, eating there is very inexpensive. Staying there, everything is pretty well catered to you.
And you take into consideration, you know, the things that are going to make your trip comfortable. When we personally go, we like to stay closest to the fair, so our hotel is a little bit more for that. You know, we also make sure that we do certain things when we're there, so you have to take that into consideration. But just so you know, the point of this is to show you that actually not going is actually costing you more money because you're paying more when you stay here than you are actually going. So the trip really ends up being paid for by itself. And the great thing is you also get a write-off. So you get to write it off too. So you're making money on this trip, actually. So another thing that we hear about from people is that they don't have the time to go. They don't have the time to take off and to go to China to do this. And I'm going to write this in here if you just want to hold that. The time. And so we're going to talk a little bit here about time. Let's go back to Alibaba and talk about time.
So as I mentioned, people spend not just hours, days, months. We've met clients who have spent a year searching on Alibaba. They've either quit their job or they've cut down their hours at work because they wanted to focus on an online site where they're selling like Amazon and boosting their company, starting a private label company with some products in the physical product industry. And so what we'd say to them is, you know, what is your time worth? I know my time's worth a lot. I'm developing products and working with companies all day long, so my time is very valuable. So if you really want to break it down to the minimum, we'll call it like minimum wage. You know, if you get a job at Target or McDonald's or a basic job, even a warehouse job, let's say on the high scale, it's going to be $15 an hour. So your time is $15 an hour. You have a job maybe in an office, maybe a clerk, whatever you're doing, $15 an hour. So at $15 an hour for you to stay home, spend, let's say 5 hours a day on Alibaba looking for products, and we'll say we'll make that only 4 days a week. Now your work day is 5 days, but we'll say 4 days a week. So at $15 an hour times 5, that's 75. 75 times 4 is 300, okay? And you're gonna do that for 1 month, just 1 month, 4 weeks. So 300 times 4 is 1,200. You've actually just spent more money and your time than it would have cost you to go to China.
And you don't have samples.
You don't even have
communication back and forth.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are left out. You haven't actually met the company. You haven't met 1,000 companies. You haven't been introduced to new products. You haven't seen new development of products. You haven't actually had that direct communication, introduction, and beginning of a relationship. Skype is one thing. You don't know who you're talking to. You could be talking to someone who's just a clerk at an office, and then 2 weeks from now, they're not working there anymore. So now you're talking to someone else. Last week you're talking to Jim. This week you're talking to Bessie. You don't know who you're talking to. Whereas when you go to the Canton Fair, you're meeting with thousands of people, literally thousands, because there's over 60,000 vendors, as Karen mentioned. So you have the opportunity, if you're in one category, maybe there's something I can add on in a different category as well. So you have the opportunity of developing many ideas in your mind and focusing right there within a few days.
And the big advantage really is you get to meet and build the relationships. You get to see the products and new products that you're not seeing on Alibaba. You get to touch, you get to feel, you get to bring home samples, you get to analyze them. You can actually even make a purchase order at the fair and be ready so that when you come home, you're ready to go. A lot of time is wasted in the prep phase of looking and sourcing and finding and doing all that, during that time you're not making money. So you're losing money in that respect too, and you're losing time.
And people will say to themselves, I just spent a month and I'm still looking for a product. Well, what about getting it done within 5 days?
Which is amazing, right? The only place you can do that is by going directly to the source. Another thing we hear about when it comes to time is I don't have time, I can't take time away from my family. I have a family, and trust me, I get it. We have kids. And the thing that kills me the most is that I have to leave to, do business, and then it's about arranging babysitting and all that stuff too. But let me tell you, when you're building a business, this is part of business, and you need to understand that you need to, when you're setting up and you're strategizing your business, just like we did in our last Facebook Live when we were talking about our plan, you need to know when the times are where you're going to be away from your family so you can make arrangements for that, because it's about building business and it doesn't have to happen all the time. The great thing about the Canton Fair is it's only twice a year. So even if you attended once a year, you know exactly when that time's going to be, and you can make arrangements so that that is part of your business plan. And your kids know, and you can have family help you with all that as well. And that's what we do. We know we go twice a year, and we travel around the world different times of the years too, but it's all mapped out so that we can have people help us with this so that we can grow our business, because it's all part of business. And you're going to save so much more time and have so much more time with your family, your friends, your kids, and to do all these other things, because you're doing it all at that one time. Like, it's all concentrated. It's not over a period of time of months if you're looking for products. So there's a savings in that as well.
And also, we don't have to stay up all night now with the time difference. Mm-hmm. People who are going on Alibaba, some people say, oh, I'm on Alibaba for 10 hours a day because I go on at 3 in the afternoon, and with the time difference, we don't have to, because we're in China, we're doing business, we're meeting with the companies, we're meeting with the suppliers, and then it's just we email during the day, and then the next day we answer our emails because we know everything's already put in place. We've already arranged that within the days that we've been at the Canton North America. And people say, oh, it's the same. Doing business around the world is all the same. I do business in probably 20 different countries, and it's a little bit different in every country. And people have to understand, with that language barrier, you're setting up barriers. So when you're going there, you have to be prepared how to answer, how to ask questions, what to do in a meeting, that typical business etiquette. Just like when people go play golf and they say, well, there's golf etiquette. You have to have the right shoes and the right pants. It's the same thing with doing business.
And that's basically, the language barrier, just the physical language, as well as the business language to use. As Neil mentioned, it's
products and see new companies. For them, they're also eager. Now they have a new. Now I have a customer in Iowa. Now I have a customer in Chicago. Now I have a customer, in Denver, in Montreal, in Nova Scotia. People are excited. In the UK, in Scotland, they love to hear this, and they start to ask questions. They want to inquire, what is your city like? What is your weather like now? So again, building that relationship and opening the opportunity.
But it is not risky. It's not unsafe there. It's a great place, especially at the fair. There's so many people there. 100%. Prepare you before you go, while you're there, and after, so that you are not doing this alone. And that's the key. The key is so that you know what to do, so that you can rinse and repeat and do it again. And that's the key, doing it with people. And that's why we created our live event in China. And this is what we're going to do. I've added a link down on the title that will take you to a page that you can actually register for a live
the people, the Chinese people who exhibited would ask me for directions because I knew so many ins and outs and where to go and get away from the traffic. And I was walking down one corridor and I was visiting different companies and different factories, and it was on 5 different floors. No elevator at the time. You had to take stairs. And I noticed there was a man who was sitting in a chair drinking a glass of orange juice, and he was looked like he was from North America, and he had a briefcase with him, and he was dressed in a suit. And usually, when it's 100 degrees and it's very humid, you're not wearing a full suit, and
I don't know what products, and we're going to get you focused. We're going to give you an exercise to kind of hone in on what category you need to be in. As long as you have a category and you're going there, you're going to see so many amazing products. You'll be able to narrow it down.
And some people say, well, I don't have any hobbies. I don't really have it. Everyone has an interest, whether it be food or cycling or sports. Everyone has some interest, maybe playing cards, anything. And you're going to look for a new type of card. Everyone has some type of interest.
So we'll definitely be working with everyone individually, one-on-one, prior to the trip as well, to help you with all that. But it is a concern for everyone, and that's something that we train our students with, to how to protect themselves. And we have a great in-house lawyer as well that we work with, that we share as well. So we're going to wrap it up, because it looks like kind of there might be some connection issues going on here, is what I'm hearing. But again, I have attached the link to register for our upcoming webinar. And there's 2 different times depending on your time zone and what's convenient for you. And we are going to walk through the benefits of the Canton Fair. We're going to walk through what our live event looks like, what you'll be benefiting from,